Holy shit, I made it.
Yeah, literally, folks, like he was like throwing himself into his chair not 60 seconds ago.
I managed to attend the city commission, give my intended remarks, my pre-planned remarks, but also earlier remarks when I found yet another place that they ran hardcore straight the fuck into my common sense filter. And still got out of there, out of the garage, down the street to home. Yeah, so I'm here. I even managed to deploy a trusty fan because it's warm at the moment, as you can tell by the shiny.
He's already climatizing is the problem. It's 80 degrees here. I have my fan on me, and I'm just like, it's nice. It's fine. It's
80,
fine. It's 100% humidity.
80 something here, and my window is open.
But it's 100% humidity where I am. Literally, I could drink the fucking air.
Oh yeah. The Grand Rapids fascination with motorcycles will no doubt become a problem at some point with this window open, but we're all in it together, ladies and James. So, welcome to Brewing Controversy. I'm Lucas. That's David in the blurry section. And
oh, shut up.
Nope. Now you're in focus. Look at you. In case you're just joining us for the first time, the nature of our relationship is to sit around and bullshit about politics and social topics while we drink craft beer and talk about the craft beer. And those are the things we will do with you this evening. I am literally fresh out of downtown, and you are literally fresh out of like job interviews and shit. So we both had busy days. How was yours?
I mean, so here's the deal. We were talking about this earlier. I get really worried when people don't ask me questions. I get terrified. I'm like, oh my God, I've bombed this conversation. You're not engaging. Why aren't you engaging? I think it's because like you and I work very well together because you won't let me bulldoze a conversation. But most of humanity understands me as a human verbal piece of machinery that will annihilate all things before me. Right?
Okay.
So as a consequence, in order to, fit in social situations, I've always learned, okay, shut up and let the other people talk.
Fair enough.
And then when they don't, I'm like, why aren't you talking? I don't understand. I made room for you, damn it.
I join you in that latter part because I learned through personality testing and organizational dynamics that I am not the best at waiting and being patient and letting people talk. And then I found that once I did, I was like in your boat. Like, why are you not filling this space with your words? I gave up my words for your words, and they're not here now. If you're here, say hello. Brian's here. Heidi ho, boys and girls. He's here mostly, that is. Olivia's here. Supposed to be 80-something in Vermont, but so it's not 80-something. Preemptively miserable. So it's not 80-something yet. It's actually really nice outside here. It's great outside. It's a little warm in the house, but that's because we're transitioning the seasons and we haven't like put the air conditioner up yet and all that stuff. But I also didn't expect to be like hell bent for leather, tearing out of the city garage and getting across the river and getting home. But I came running in here, ran around, grabbed my beers, and worked up a good sweat. So that's okay. That's the way it is. I spent the preamble before heading to the city commission. I spent a couple hours at one of the local breweries at Gray Line, talking to a friend and neighbor. We had a lot of good conversations. I'm going to have to get you in on that at some point. This was this was Ben, the pastor neighbor.
Oh, okay.
I shouldn't out him on the internet, but the center left pastor neighbor that is definitely much more of our tribe than not. So anyway, it is that time again, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been down this road with us before, you know that we're going to bullshit a little bit about a few main items of interest from the day's news, and most of those will be driven by David. We call this the hot take quickies.
Most of it's going to be driven by David. It's verbal bulldozer time again. Here we go.
David was prepared to fly solo for the hot take quickies. So
I was.
For the most part, it's all you. But I have only one contribution, sir. The time has come.
Well, the morning.
The time has come to fold the flag.
Yeah.
And put it away, because as of last night, with a stunning straight loss of 4 games, the Preds are now out of the playoffs. So,
and you know what? I felt so
alas.
bad. I felt so bad for us because first of all, we didn't. This was not the year we needed to be in the playoffs. We needed a rebuilding year, no doubt. We needed, and you know, I was impressed by the fact that our offense managed to find its feet better towards the midseason. I was impressed by the fact that you know Soros came in and to replace Rene, and really made the net his, and that was very impressive.
And Ingram held his own, to be fair.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know it was last week. I didn't know that a thing, and of course, you know, I'm a nerd trying to keep up with sports, so it's usually pretty ignorant, but I didn't know in hockey that the goaltender could fire out like 40 fucking feet away from the goal and just goddamn assault you front on. And he did that, and I was like, whoa, look at the nuts on Ingram. And that was really impressive.
No, I mean, and you can, and you know, it was a good attempt for us, but I mean, the problem is this year the Lanch are just, and I refuse to call them the Avs. The Coloradans call them the Avs. I call them the Lanch.
It sounds like a venereal disease,
right? Kind of like.
Why don't you come out with us tonight? I can't. I've got the Lanch.
But no, I mean, it's you know, they're going to the Cup. I mean, without question. The only thing that really pissed me off in that entire scenario is that I didn't bet on the Dirty Birds and Rich Strike. I'm like, I would have, you know what? If I was like scrolling down the list of like horses to bet on for the Derby, I would have been like, sure,
right.
Why not? Rich Strike.
Yeah.
You know, 84-1.
Fuck it.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. And then bet on, you know, for those of you who don't know betting, it's called a parlay. You take a bet and then you say, and I bet this other team is going to win too. And I have to win both in order to get my full bet. So I would have bet on the Avs against my Preds, and I would have bet on the Dirty Birds over the Long Island Bums.
So who do we who you think? You're telling me that you think the Avalanche is going to go all the way to the final round?
It's going to be hard to stop the Lanch.
Okay.
It's
who
going to
do
be
you
hard.
think is on the other side?
Honestly, right now, maybe the fucking Dirty Birds. Their shutout of the Rangers was impressive. It was very impressive.
You know,
they had some touch and go moments.
Penguins.
I don't think the Flames have it. I don't think the Flames or the Leafs or any. I don't think there's any other team right now that's in a position to match.
Well, Calgary's on the other side. Calgary's on the whatever the fuck this other side is. I don't know enough to know that.
Yeah, no, the divisions are all messed up, and honestly, half the time I have to look to see what division teams are in.
Yeah, I'm totally cheating on a bracket right now.
Right, no, because it's just stupid about like we're in like the Western Division, and you're like, what? Okay,
dude, it's not just hockey. When I was in retail marketing, the company I work for, an Apple vendor, was considered, if you're ready for this, Apple's West Coast territory. There's something about Nashville getting drafted into that fucking, like, we don't have enough Westies. Let's just make up some shit.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why isn't at that point? Why isn't Tampa Bay in the West anyway?
Right.
But you know, I don't think there's anyone in a good position to catch the Lanch. I think the Birds are going to give them their best shot. I think the Birds have a chance.
For those that don't know, he's talking about the Penguins.
Yeah, the Dirty Birds. Fuck the Dirty Birds. You know what, Mario Lemieux, if you're watching, go fuck yourself.
Shit.
I mean that, really, from the bottom of my heart. Go fuck yourself.
Total sweaty mess.
And for those of you who don't know the Nashville hatred of Mario Lemieux, He's why we don't have a cup. So he can go.
Okay.
No.
I mean, you kind of sprout a new hate boner every couple of So, David, tell us what you brought us for hot take quickies today.
So the hot take quickie that I wasn't intending to talk about today, but it's really blown up, is and I made a banner for it because I wanted to.
David's getting fancy. He's learning the tools.
I am. I'm
Stand
not good
back,
at them.
ladies and
I'm not good at them
gents.
yet. So
troubling treaty test. Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, Northern Ireland had its election earlier at the beginning of this week. And
wasn't it like last week and they were counting and certifying all weekend?
Yeah. It was last week, but Northern Ireland has very strict rules and they don't get like panicky like we do. And they figure out the election.
Wait, you mean they don't threaten anyone with gallows every time it's certification time?
Well, apparently we had a little bit of an issue this time, but not nearly as bad as storming the Capitol. But Sinn Féin, for the first time ever, won a majority. Well, won a plurality. But they had the most votes of any party in Northern Ireland.
And for those playing along at home, that's not a person, that's a party.
Yeah. Sinn Féin is the Irish Nationalist Party in Northern Ireland.
Is there an American equivalent that we could draw?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, there really isn't. I mean, maybe like a part of the Democrats. But I mean, you have to understand that Irish politics are dominated by the question of what to do about Northern Ireland, right? That's what Irish politics are all about. Do we try and reintegrate? Does Northern Ireland want to remain part of the United Kingdom? How are we? What's going on here? It's stood for a lot of different things. In like ancillary to that, for a long time, it was, well, you're Catholic, so you vote Sinn Féin. That is not at all the case anymore. Many Protestants in Northern Ireland voted for Sinn Féin. So it's a big deal because now Sinn Féin gets to have a chance to act on its goal, which is to hold a referendum to unite the island of Ireland under the Republic of Ireland.
And what I was hearing in coverage was that the rest of Ireland would have to have their own sort of voting toward that effect. And if both sides of the border said, hey, let's reunite, there could be a reunite.
Right. And with the Republic of Ireland having a treaty about whether or not to absorb the rest of their island, I think is kind of a little bit of a foregone conclusion. But in Northern Ireland, it's always been controlled by what's called by the organization called the Democratic Unionist Party, which is a Protestant party which has always dominated Irish politics for many, many years. And much like Republican, I mean, if you want a corollary to the Democratic Unionist Party in Northern Ireland, it's the Republicans, bar none. They are many of their leaders are guest speakers at Bob Jones University. I mean, they are hardcore conservatives, and they're now out of power.
Yeah.
So what's happened as a result is the Democratic Unionist Party is very much connected to the British Conservative Party, which is currently in power in Westminster. And as a consequence, Westminster is now talking about backing out of the treaty that they signed to remove themselves from the European Union, part of which said we're not going to put a border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. So in order to separate England from the European Union, they essentially had to establish a border at the edge of their own territory with Northern Ireland. So there's no border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, but there is a border now for the sake of commerce between the big island and the little one off to the left of it. And now they're talking about revisiting that and maybe trying to put some sort of border around Northern Ireland to satisfy the Democratic Unionist Party, which just lost. The big issue about that is everyone agrees that would cause a resumption in fighting, likely between the between the nationalist factions, in other words, the groups that want to reunite Northern Ireland with Ireland, and the the very right-wing Protestants who want to keep Northern Ireland separate from the Republic of Ireland.
Right.
And honestly, in some ways, even from England, they would really just like to have. I mean, they're really, if you look at their philosophy, it's really like, Cannon County, Alabama, which I don't even know if is a real place, but I mean, like, it sounds like someplace out in the middle of like someplace bumfuck forgot existed.
Well, at least you use the name of a Tennessee podunk county and the name of one of the most podunk states. So your combo is believable, sir.
Right. So I mean, it's their idea of what they would want is basically to be left alone, and if they can't be left alone, they'd rather have someone who's inclined to leave them alone in charge of them, which is the United Kingdom as opposed to the Republic of Ireland, which really wants back up in that bitch.
Okay.
So it's not a good sign right now that the UK is trying to go back on its agreement, because that, I mean, and you have to remember that this was part of the reason they were so concerned about putting a border between Northern Ireland and Ireland was because that was part of the agreement that ended the fighting in Northern Ireland.
Right.
And now the UK is like, well, we have to satisfy our, podunk cousins who give us a few votes in Westminster, in the Parliament in London. So maybe we have to put a border. Maybe we want to restart a war. I don't know. It sounds like a good idea, right in the middle when we're already fighting one in Ukraine.
Sure.
Let's start one right across this like little brook that we got separating us and this other island of crazy resistance fighters. Let's do that. It sounds like a great idea. So I mean, it's big news, because the problem is, at least in the United States, is whatever happens in Ireland inevitably drags us in. Whatever happens in England inevitably drags us in.
Sorry,
why are you pressing buttons?
Screwing up banners. I'm trying to learn your beers.
Oh yeah, I found a very strange collection of beers today.
I'm trying to get them all pulled up so we don't sound like morons over here on my cheat sheet. I accidentally clicked on one. So I thought that it was good news, and maybe I was just being Pollyanna. When I heard about all of it, I thought, oh, cool, unified Ireland might be a thing. That's kind of neat. And, telling the UK to go piss up a rope is always neat.
Yep.
But, like everything else, it might be messier, dirtier, stupider, and slower than we would prefer.
With the DUP, it's pretty bad. I mean, one of the strange things, again, a parallel between the DUP and the Republican Party is Sinn Féin actually did try and distance itself from the Provisional Irish Republican Army. The Irish Republican Army is a different thing than the Provisional Irish Republican Army. I know it gets confusing. It's like watching that scene from Life of Brian, but there it is nonetheless. So the way to tell them apart is typically in nomenclature. When you're talking about Ireland, you refer to either the Republicans or the Provos, right? The Provos are the Provisional Irish Republican Army, which were the ones engaged in fighting in the 1970s and 1980s in Ireland, mostly through acts of terrorism. But for as much as between that, we always get dragged in because the Republicans like to blame everything on the provost. Meanwhile, the British were actually recording members of government talking with the Unionist terrorists, the Ulster Volunteer Force, about where to go bomb Catholics.
That's fun.
So, I mean, again, it was one of those things. As a comparison, every accusation from the DUP is typically an admission.
So the moral of the story is keep calm and watch the headlines and go watch Belfast.
Right. Go watch Bloody Sunday.
There you
go. That's always the best way to understand how Northern Ireland got to be the way it was, and what happened that made things so bad. So
now to jam you further through your hot take laundry ringer, the House always wins, but it shouldn't.
So CNBC put this article up yesterday morning, and I'll be honest, I woke up to it and I immediately started throwing shit off my nightstand at the wall.
Oh boy.
I'll tell you why. It's because CNBC literally said, well, the stock market is the economy. Those words.
Yes.
Those words, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I have things in front of me that I want to throw. Yeah. I'm actively willing myself not to throw things that are in front of me.
Ladies, if you ever need a reason to be able to call the cops on David, say that to him at the end of a date, and he'll flip a car, and then you can be like, I don't know what happened. He just went nuts. What did you do? I suggested that the stock market was a legitimate sign of how well the economy is doing. Oh, ma'am, we can press no charges. Good night.
Right.
Yeah.
It's absolute insanity.
Well, and right now we're witnessing a whole lot of the responses to the adjustments of the rates and all that kind of shit.
Well, the problem is I've gone through this.
Brian's with you. He says, "Let him fly. Whatever you want to throw."
And this is what's really jamming things up. The thing that has enabled this inequality of wealth in America, the thing that's held so many entrepreneurs back, the thing that's held so much of the economy in the hands of fewer and fewer people, is this: access to capital. Because here's what happens. If I want to start a business, I have to make a profit. I have to make more money than I spend. If I'm Elon fucking Musk, yeah, there we go. Find the banner. Find the banner. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
I was already looking, man. As soon as you started talking about investments and make a profit, I was like, there's a hate boner for Musk.
For Elon Musk. Or if I'm Uber, or if I'm any of these other organizations, I don't make a profit, right? Even Apple makes a profit. Google makes a profit. It's sketchy, but they do. But so many of these big tech companies don't make a profit. And so you ask yourself, well, how do they continue to exist? Well, what they do is whenever it comes time to pay off their debt, they just borrow again. And they pay off their old debt with an additional line of credit from a new bank. And they just keep on moving debt around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They just keep on, they have, 100 different loans, and they keep on shuffling them around to pay off the old debt and, get another line of credit to keep operating because they don't make any money. So what happens when interest rates go up? Well, the problem happens, and this is the real scary bit. This could be scary because of what's called deflation is the scary bit. Inflation is bad, but you can manage it because you can just raise interest rates. Unless you have a whole bunch of debt that you've got to repay, and you can't repay it. Not only can you not repay it, if you were to borrow, to replace it, now your level of borrowing becomes something that you can't sustain. That's one of the reasons why I don't think. Yeah,
Brian would like to point out he was already scared for quite some time, And he's not wrong. A lot of this, if you knew what you were seeing, has been a little freaky.
Yeah, deflation is the bad thing.
Yeah.
Deflation is the bad thing. Inflation is controllable. Deflation wipes shit out. And I'll explain why. So inflation means that the value of your dollar is worth less tomorrow than it was the day before. Hyperinflation is bad, right? So hyperinflation, so the value of my dollar is worth less tomorrow than it is today. That's not good. Deflation says the value of my dollar is worth more tomorrow than it was today. And here's why that's bad. Because if my dollar is worth more, then I can't sell stuff. Now, most people don't get this. So, if deflation is happening, it means money isn't moving through the economy.
Mm-hmm.
If money isn't moving through the economy, then my ability to produce goods, pay people, borrow on credit is gone. It's not in a good place. And if that happens, my ability to therefore repay the loan that may be worth, let's say I owe $10,000. Well, the problem is because of deflation, my product, which was worth $5 today, is worth $4.50 tomorrow. Well, if I can only get $4.50 for my product, how am I going to repay the $10,000 loan? Right? That's bad.
Bad juju.
It's a cascade. It's a cascade reaction when you have deflation. Inflation is, it's fine. Well, if my product, my loan is for $10,000 and my product is because of inflation worth $5.50 tomorrow, well, that's fine. I can repay. I can repay my $10,000 loan with room to spare. But if my goods are worth less, so back to the point. The stock market is not, CNBC makes this whole case about, 40% of the stock market is in private hands. That isn't people. Those are not wage earners or salary earners for the most part. Those are not average everyday Americans. Those are hedge funds, of which at most people may own the tiniest little sliver of.
Part of the grand mythology of the right wing. If you just help rich people get richer, trust me, they'll share it with you.
No, they won't. And so what? The thing that pisses me off is the stock market could completely collapse tomorrow. The wealthy could lose all their money, and I want to point this out. It would affect absolutely for I'd say about 80% of Americans on salary or earning a wage. It would do nothing.
Yeah.
And the reason is the only place where it has an impact is these banks, which have been loaning this money, knowing that their loan is being used to repay another loan again and again and again and again.
Which should kind of be against some rules.
It really should. But I mean, that Americans love it when we call it refinancing your house. Right? It's using a loan to repay a loan.
Yeah, sure is. Well, that's all more than a good reason to throw back more than one brew.
There.
It's time for what you drinking, folks. So if you don't have it cracked, crack it open. What you drinking? So, David, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So,
which one of your weird fucking beers is
right? I have some weird ones for today. I have the Prairie Artisan Ales Buntastic Carrot Cake Imperial Stout.
Say that 3 times fast. So that is
Prairie Artisan Ales Buntastic Carrot Imperial Stout. No, I failed.
Let's see.
I tried. I wanted to make a valiant effort.
Where are these cats?
Oklahoma.
Yeah, Krebs. Okay, Oklahoma. What the fuck is going on with that beer?
I'll tell you, you all might have seen my facial reaction the first time I took a drink.
I did see your face.
Which was, what is this? Now that I've had a couple of sips, it's kind of interesting.
Does it taste like carrot cake?
It does taste exactly like carrot cake.
Okay.
And I feel like what it is they have like a little bit of coffee almond flavor at the front. and then they bitter it up at the end. I mean, it tastes almost exactly like carrot cake.
So do you have that in a growler or do you have that in a bottle?
I have that in the growler.
Okay. So like normally I wouldn't do this so raw, but I just think that their label is fucking hysterical, and I'm going to bring it into the broadcast.
Yep,
So
do it.
let's
It
see.
is. So while you're doing that,
there it is. Look at this shit. This is so funny. It's got a chunky bunny doing workouts on TV. Here, I'll use my pointer on the screen. So yeah, Buntastic. It's got all the dad jokes. It's bunny, butt, and bun. But it also is dark as fuck. Is it that dark? Is it? Oh, yes, it is. Yes, indeedy.
I'll be
looks
honest,
great.
I can almost, well, no, is that a reflection or can I see through? No, I can't see through it. That's a
reflection. Is it tasty?
It is tasty. It's definitely a dessert-ish beer. It's sweet.
Okay.
Actually, for you, this would be right up your alley. Given how much you like tailgate snack series.
That's true. I am a dessert beer fat kid.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, it's not too sweet. This is something that I could be like, oh, okay, I would drink this as a dessert beer. I wouldn't drink half the shit that you consume as a dessert beer. I'd be like, that's sugary shit. So it should be flushed down a toilet.
So you're not a big fan of my New Holland Bananas Foster, you don't think?
I mean, it's so sweet. I'm just like, nah.
I gotta remember. I think I saved you one, so you'll have it.
I'll have it. I mean, I don't think I've ever had Bananas Foster, but I'll tell you, like the pastry snack series at tailgate, it was always
pastry snack.
Oh, but I mean, I think the nice thing about this is it's got. I almost feel like they introduced the carrot flavor with almost like a light coffee.
Okay. Ooh, it's a 12%er too.
Yeah,
so that's a nice get your buzz on.
But beer. I mean, it finishes really. I mean, like again, one thing I normally don't like about sweet beers is they don't finish very smooth. They just abruptly check out. Right. This doesn't. This wants to give you a Wisconsin goodbye.
I'm not sure if I know or want to know what a Wisconsin goodbye.
Oh, don't you know we got to be leaving? Oh, no, it's great. No, it's fine. Okay. I don't know why I just imagine like Wisconsin people speak with an Irish accent, but I mean,
well,
that's what's happening.
It's not far off. That baseline Midwestern mom voice. Yeah,
it's so my Midwestern mom. But I mean, it doesn't, like, even now that I put the Stein down, I can still have a little bit of the finish at the end. And it really
does it give you a lot of the icing sweetness that you would expect from a carrot cake?
No,
or is it mostly focused on the rich carroty kind of thing?
It's the rich carroty bit. It's the because what it is, in a carrot cake, it's the carrots bitter up what would be normally too sweet from caramel and raisins and other things.
Yeah,
and that's even why the raisins are there, is to help bitter it up a little bit. And that, I mean, it emulates that very well. And I don't get the super sweet, buttercream icing effect.
Olivia points out, don't Wisconsiners just have like all right version of the Fargo accident? Yes, that's exactly what that is.
The Fargo accident.
Accident. There are a lot of accidents in Fargo.
We don't have a wood chipper here.
So I will meet you at the dark beer Pistols at Dawn, because I finally got to go back to a brewery that I really enjoyed a few years ago, Big Heart, which is in Hart, Michigan. It's on the way to Jesse's hometown of Ludington, which makes it very practical if you're running to Ludington. And years ago, we stopped there, had cherry cider for the first time. It was really incredible. So I bombed in there on my way up there for a family thing this weekend, and I looked in their cooler, and I don't remember if they had this beer years ago when I tried a flight there, but this is one of my favorite names of a beer in quite some time. Smoke follows the jive ass. And I got a 6-pack of mix and match, and I got 2 of these so I could drink one at the family picnic. This is the way they do the can. I
I've
love
seen those
how
before.
it's very simplistic. It's really really cute. You've probably seen the sticker on my beer fridge because I put it on.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. Because I assume, because whenever I looked at it, that looks suspiciously like the Order of the Sacred Heart.
Yeah, yeah. And you can only get this in Hart, Michigan, at a little grocery store down the street from the brewery or at the brewery itself. So that's pretty cool. And it's a proper blast, a smoky flavor from German Beechwood smoked malt, tempered with an array of English roasted malts. Sorry about your dick, sir. The hop bitterness blends with the aggressive smoky flavor and itself lends to the roasty malt character. It's only 5.5%. It's a very drinkable porter. And I really enjoy it. I like a smoked porter because it reminds me of that time years and years ago when Cool Springs Brewing, south of Nashville, had a smoked jalapeno porter, and it changed my fucking life. And this is close without the jalapeno part.
Well,
So.
see, for me, my favorite smoked porter will always be Onward. Well, it's not porter technically, although it was close. Onward Irish Stout from Yazoo, which is gone.
Yeah, that's a good one. So that is the first of our 2 breaks, ladies and James. I hope you're drinking something. I will jump in. We have not created him a segment yet, but Brian is always so kind to give us a narrative of what he's enjoying, which is not necessarily going to be the same as what we're enjoying. But tonight, Brian brings us his thoughts from the land of Rebel Sour, also known as Rebel Sour 2.0. Hybrid weed strain made by crossing Sour OG and East Coast Sour Diesel. Most people say this strain makes them feel talkative, energetic, and happy. And if that's the vibe, we can look forward to lots of BSing of quality from the Brian side of the chat tonight. So thank you for sharing that, man. We're going to totally have to start like pulling him into a window, giving him a big fucking weed leaf icon, and just let him go to town because, you know, it's all good in my state and your state will eventually catch up.
No, not now. Not now.
I don't know, man.
It's gone, dude.
Those tobacco farmers can get more money out of weed than they get out of tobacco.
But the thing is, if we were talking about economics, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now.
Fair point. Well, okay. Yeah, you win. So let's finish up where we were last week. We were chit-chatting a little bit about some of the pieces, the bits and pieces of the SCOTUS leak, and the big one is the leaky afterbirth. I mean, the math, the aftermath of the bullshit. And David, you're arguably more sky is falling on this than I am,
because it's so much. Because
but we do have states that are already trying.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you watched the Chuck Todd interview with Opie's inbred cousin, that is the governor of Mississippi. But I mean, Chuck Todd straight up asked him, all right, so if we're getting rid of Roe, are we getting rid of Griswold v. Connecticut? Griswold v. Connecticut establishes the right to, you can buy contraceptives if you want. If someone's willing to sell them to you, or, you know, someone has them in store, you can buy them. And he straight up dodged the question. Alito has opened up and this is the thing that I hate the most about conservative jurists, is they don't consider the follow-on. This is the problem. And I'm going to roll back real fast to something that I kind of wanted to point out last week and didn't, because I hadn't fully fleshed out the thought. We've had obviously a prohibition movement in this country before, right? It was for alcohol. Now, one of the really nifty things that the Temperance League did in the lead up to pushing for prohibition of alcohol was this. They wanted to find a solution. So the prohibition groups, the Temperance League, etc., promoted non-alcoholic drinks. But most importantly, in terms of law, what they did is, and by the way, I love throwing this in conservatives' faces, they introduced the income tax. See, the problem was that the federal government depended on the excise taxes that it collected from liquor and beer and everything else as a way to function. So the Temperance League actually were the ones who introduced the income tax after the Civil War to offer people, say, no, we're not going to defund the entire federal government. We'll just introduce an income tax, and that will fund the federal government. So they were looking for solutions. The anti-choice crowd has not been looking for solutions to abortion. They've just been looking to punish abortion. And see, that tells you what they're actually about. What's the goal? The goal of the Temperance League, of the prohibitionists for alcohol, was to end alcohol consumption. And so what they did was they looked for solutions to prevent or mitigate the abuse of alcohol. The anti-choice crowd, you're like, okay, well, have you helped? If pregnancy is this much of an issue, have you opened up child care centers?
Right.
Have you provided free health care to women? Have you done any of these other things? And it's telling now, because now we're to this point where it's like, oh, we're going to ban contraceptives.
Right. They're not even trying to find alternatives. They're just
right. It's not, because what is the goal? The goal is to punish women. The goal is to be abusive. Mm-hmm. And it's that, I mean, and this is where Alito and conservative jurists don't plan ahead. They don't think even, I mean, everyone's like, oh, Trump's playing 4D chess. No, he's literally just so stupid, he's falling all around, and you're pretending like he's dancing.
Trump's never played 4D chess. At best, Trump is the 1-year-old that opened the checkers box and somehow realized that the little circle pieces fit inside the squares.
Yeah, I mean that's the extent of his abilities. It's shocking. And that's what's making it so much worse. That's what has me sky is falling, because if they're able to get rid of contraceptives, I mean, Missouri is already moving to ban IUDs. Louisiana is moving to declare abortion homicide.
What do you do if you move in and you have an IUD? Is there like a uterus scanner at the border?
Again, I just pointed out, they don't think these things ahead.
Right.
They don't think ahead. And actually, one of the things I wanted you to do, and we'll play it maybe after the beer break. I'll go find it. There's an amazing commercial that's being passed around, and it's really shocking. It's a mother and her daughter, and they've been pulled over by the police, and they're obviously very afraid. And the police start questioning them, and then comes the question to the daughter, "Are you pregnant?" And the daughter freezes. She looks scared, and they start hauling the women out of the car. Lucas is looking it up.
Yep.
Because if we can, we should play that clip, because it's what, again, they don't think about this, because what's going to happen is they're going to kill people.
Yeah.
And they're going to kill people. And apparently this was even put to several Trumpers recently. What about ectopic pregnancies? And for those of you who don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is, an ectopic pregnancy is when, instead of latching onto the uterine wall where an egg can survive, the egg latches onto the fallopian tube. And when that happens and a fetus starts to try and grow, if it's allowed to develop at all, it will kill both the child and mother. Guaranteed. It's not maybe it will. And no, you can't sever it from the fallopian tube and then re-implant it on the uterine wall. That's not how this shit works. No, you just have to cut out.
But the pursuit of that science or technology would at least be more defensible than all the bullshit that we have now.
You think like, oh,
that's a big thing.
No, we want to find some way to re-implant embryos.
Okay, let's talk about that. Yeah.
No, because it doesn't matter to them.
For 20 years, I've been asking abortion opponents, don't you think it's a little bit Stone Age and dumb as fuck that we're having this argument when Like they cloned a sheep at a college. Like we should be able to do a lot of shit. I was sitting up the road at Gray Line Brewery having beers with Pastor Ben, and we talked about this a little bit. And I told him it's patently offensive to me that you and me are sitting here unable to buy a pill for ourselves. And it's offensive to me that women can't go somewhere and see Dr. McCoy, who holds up a little mysteriously similar to a salt shaker scanner and goes, okay, you're not pregnant. Everything's good. Like the fact that we're not there, the fact that we don't put our energy, our time, our money, our debate into solving this, it just goes back to my pleasure fucking problem. They don't want to solve it because then that would let people pleasure fuck.
No. They want men to be able to. It's that women need to be punished for being women.
Right.
So I mean, the first big issue is that they've made it very clear they're coming after contraceptives. Next.
Yeah.
So they're going to make it so not only can you not have an abortion, you can't prevent yourself from getting pregnant. I own you, right? You woman are my property. So that's number one. That's a big issue. I mean, the cascade reaction from Alito's, because Alito's test is it, can we find it historically? Which, as many people have pointed out, Benjamin motherfucking Franklin put a recipe for abortion in his textbooks.
Well,
and I mean, it was very clear what he was doing. It wasn't like, oh, I didn't know what this was. No, he was crystal goddamn clear.
I mean, you got to clean out those mistresses. Know what I mean?
I mean, he was a member of the Hellfire Club, and God knows how many pastors he would have had otherwise. Anyway,
so like a thing occurred to me earlier today in the conversation I was having about just the generations of damage this does to the right, and I don't know if they're thinking about it. Let's paint that picture. Okay, let's say that the court strikes down Roe and Casey, and now the states are left to their
and Griswold, apparently, and also Griswold.
Well, so the point being, the states are left to their own devices to, whip out both barrels and Yosemite Sam, woo, just go hog fucking redneck hillbilly ass wild and do whatever crazy shit they want in their state legislatures. And in those Republican dominated legislatures in those states, they spend all their time on nothing but punishment and prohibition and subjugation and oppression. And they spend no time elevating anyone or anything. They spend no time opening up possibilities for the future. Meanwhile, their core base is dying every day. What have any of them thought about what this does?
Again, future planning is not their thing, because again, I don't think when they keep on saying we're going to ban abortion, and you talk to anti-choice groups, they're like, well, do you want to see women and daughters and mothers in prison? And they always say, oh, no, we don't want that, because they know that once that happens, their cause is lost.
Mm-hmm.
Their cause is lost, because the absolute outrage that people will have. The woman in Texas who had a miscarriage. This is one of the things. I've now read several articles about this from people who are now experiencing this in Texas, which is women who have miscarriages are being treated like potential criminals by the fact that they had 40% of all fertilizations end in miscarriages.
This is what happens when people, A, don't know facts, and B, the facts they don't know are the stuff that they're afraid to learn about. They never were told about mommy parts and how they work, and they have had no curiosity whatsoever. And I realize I say that as a 90s dude that tries to come up with colloquial descriptions for every piece of anatomy, but there, like, just the ignorance, the depths of the ignorance,
because it's willful. You have to understand it's willful is the problem.
It's sought out and enjoyed.
It is the willful ignorance is the problem.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna go ahead and throw up Brian's little quote here. and this is one of the things that's bugging me to hell is the number of people who are saying, well, the abortion debate is already baked in. I'm going to argue no, and here's why. There's so many people being like, well, no one's going to vote different because of this decision in the midterms. And here's why I don't think that's true. Someone tried to point out that, well, the court has taken away rights kind of when they struck down part of the Voting Rights Act. That nobody woke up that day after they struck down part of the Voting Rights Act, which they should not have fucking done. Absolutely. But no one woke up that day with obviously less rights that day than the day they had before.
Right.
That's the problem. That's the problem with where the Republicans are going is they think that they can take away these rights and not have a backlash. And
right.
I'm tired of reading these political pundits on Politico and The Hill and all these other political journals. They're saying, well, we don't know if this will actually impact the midterms. I mean, there's no Democrat running in my district, thanks to my weak-ass state party. But I sure as hell am going to go vote on the midterms. I'll write myself in, goddammit. I'll put up a Facebook campaign to write myself in. I will damn well be there with bells on to vote for anyone who isn't a Republican who's proposing this. And you know, the sad thing is I do think, however, that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, because Republicans are going to think that they can pull this stuff and get away with it, and that it's finally our time to roll back the clock to 1850. Which and that brings me to my next point about how bad this is. The guy Alito keeps citing. There's two guys he keeps citing. One is Blackburn. And just to clarify, Blackburn is required reading in law school. Blackburn's commentaries are required reading. If you need to understand how the common law works, which is the system of law that we inherited from Great Britain, that we share with every other place the English colonized, which forms the 1,000-year basis of our system of law. You read Blackburn's commentaries. You read he defines legal terms, right? Blackburn's legal dictionary. These are things that you have to buy. I'm pretty sure I have somewhere Blackburn's legal dictionary. I probably don't, because I don't think I actually ever bought it, because I could actually translate from the Latin and the French. So therefore I didn't give a fuck. But the other guy he cites is this guy named Hale. And there's a reason why you've never heard of this guy in law or any place else. I never heard of him.
I think this is the one that John Oliver laid into.
Because he was a witch finder. He was a fucking witch finder. He was someone who went from village to village trying to use the common law to set men and women on fire for cavorting with the devil.
Yep. That's who that is. That is who that is.
I want to make this very clear.
Seems legit.
There's this whole period about Charles the First, when Charles the First went in this whole bender of, I'm going to hunt down witches, that we don't talk about in common law. And the reason we don't talk about it is because everyone went fucking insane.
Yep. Yeah.
There's a reason. There's a reason we don't cite no rational student of common law in America or the UK or anywhere else would ever cite that period of legal history, is because shit went weird and we don't want to talk about it. We literally just took that whole little box, the majority of us apparently Alito was not there on that day of law school, where we take that little box and we say goodbye.
So let me ask you this.
And we throw it someplace that is a mental Marianas Trench.
And this might
it's shocking. It is absolutely shocking that he would bring up Hale.
This might fit your theory, because you have the theory that Roberts leaked.
I think Roberts leaked it. I am at this point, given everything that Roberts has said, I'm 100% sure, because the thing is that they're pretty sure right now it's a conservative who leaked it. And I am almost positive it was Roberts who leaked it, because I think
my theory is that Ginny Thomas got her hands on it and leaked it because she wants to create chaos from a very Trumpy J6 kind of point of view.
No.
However, what I'm about to say strengthens your Roberts leak theory. Yep. And Brian agrees with me. It was Ginny. Is Alito just damn stupid? Seems hard to believe he couldn't have made it as far as he did. You know, he was appointed by
Dude, I've been to law school. Believe me, there are plenty of fucking idiots who you look at and you're like, you don't actually remember or understand the law. I remember arguing with people nonstop during labor law because I'm like, oh, I can place this case at a point in history and cite it in its point in history.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my arguments that no legal education is complete without having to sit through, I would argue, a full year of history instruction.
Yeah.
With regards to where this case exists in a point in time.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to understand, especially labor cases, without understanding what's going on in that point in time. What's happening? What's the condition of that laborer? How are they existing? I mean, it makes things like respondat superior and its long legacy in common law make more sense. Because the thing is, if you just completely divorce an idea like respondat superior from Lochner, which is arguably, I love the fact that Alito cited Lochner. Everyone who's about to do something stupid, I swear to God, cites Lochner. Because Lochner is universally decided to be the worst decided case in U.S. history, and it's because everyone's looking around at the circumstances and saying, that's slavery. That's bad. You shouldn't do that.
So here's my well, real quick, I gotta give Brian a minute. History is the rudder of our ship of tomorrow.
This is true.
Damn, that's good weed. If that's turning you into that kind of philosopher, I gotta get me some. So here's the thing, David. I think my theory fits your Roberts theory. I'm wondering if maybe if there are any string pullers, governing agents, if there are any elements in the GOP, the GQP, whatever, with any dignity and understanding of what they're about to do to themselves for the next 50 to 100 years, you got to wonder if the leak is a product of desperation. Let's leak this so that people see how bad it is.
You know,
hold on. Oh, yeah. Then morons in their various states will start talking about shit like, oh, well, now I can do this. Hey, yeah, we might get rid of contraceptives. So that basically everybody shoots themselves in the ass and makes it clear that this is the worst idea for the Republican Party or the conservative movement ever. And then it forces perhaps the opinion to shift.
That idea would have worked if not for one individual. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, TFG. That fucking guy. If not for it, well, okay. So
you don't think Roberts and some various others like Romney exist in a
well, no, but the problem
is a shadow club of reasonable conservatives.
But that idea would have worked if not for the fact that and this is one of the things that I is ongoing, and it's one of my arguments. You know, when I was kind of one of the discussions I had prepped for this interview with this political action committee earlier today. Was this. Democrats are really bad salesmen, and here's why. There's a strong tendency, and it's not that they're bad on purpose, it's that they don't understand why they're bad. That's the issue.
Truth.
That's the issue. They don't understand why they're bad, because here's the problem. When you have a quality product, as a salesman, when you have a quality product, your instinct is to lean on the numbers, right? Your instinct is to lean on the numbers. Look how many revolutions per second this fan goes at. Look how many loads this washing machine saves. Look at how many extra pixels this television has. Right? When you have a quality product, your instinct is to lean on the numbers. When you have a shitty product, right? When you're trying to sell something that you know is a piece of shit, you don't lean on the numbers because the numbers don't help you. You lean on an experience. You lean on a feeling. You want to establish a personal connection, a feeling with the schmuck you're about to scam. Right? And the problem is a lot of voters want to be scammed.
Yeah.
They don't want to sit there. I mean, and because the problem is, who has ever tried to sell a 60-inch high-end, and I'm not talking about something that you pick up and necessarily pick up in Best Buy. I'm talking about something you go to. For those of you who don't know, there's a local retailer here in Nashville called H.H. Gregg. And H.H. Gregg specializes in high-end electronics.
Well,
some of it. If you want to find a really nice television that you probably wouldn't be able to find at Best Buy.
Here, let me help you in case a true audio video snob in the Nashville market were listening to you.
Yeah, I know.
What
I'm doing the best I can.
Desperately trying to describe is the audio video environments store from the 90s and early 2000s.
Right.
Or Nicholson Hi-Fi over across from fucking Hattie B's when it still existed.
Right.
That kind of real high-end snobbery. Hi-Fi Buys, I think, might have made it through the pandemic. That's a good example.
Yeah, they're still here.
Yeah.
But
it's that Magnolia corner that most of you regular people ignore when you walk through a Best Buy.
Exactly. It's that's what the Democrats have. And they don't know how to sell it because they know that they have a quality product. And they want, and this is the problem with democracy. They're selling it to you for free. Right? So I'm selling you a high quality product for free. But I'm using the numbers. I'm talking about quality. I'm not talking about how you feel about the television.
Right.
How you feel about the sound system, how you feel about the car, how you feel about I don't know, the faucet. And the problem is that the Republicans have clued in to the fact that the guy out in lower South Central Bucksnort for those of you who don't know, Bucksnort is an actual Tennessee community. It's an actual name.
The idea of the South by itself is funny. The South Central subdivision is even more hysterical.
Lower South Central Bucksnort.
Right.
If you're talking to him, he doesn't have a reference for you selling him a 72-inch 7K multispectral television. He's used to going to the store and having someone try and sell him on $300 for what is essentially, at best, a mid-grade television that's slightly overpriced with a few bells and whistles.
What's funny is you're describing the phenomenon in consumer electronics that makes my soul ache.
Right.
Which is going to someone's house and they have a mid-market basic bitch system. They have all of their channels turned up all the way. You sit on their couch and the music to the movie is in your left ear and it's the loudest fucking thing in the room because some dipshit at a Walmart did a demo and they think that's how it should be.
Right. It's
really like what the Democrats stand to need to learn is classic high-end, high-quality branding. If you look at people like Apple, they sell you the ooh la la and then they back it up with the performance facts. Acura, Honda, they sell you the ooh la la and they back it up with the reliability facts.
But that's the problem is that the nature now is don't sell the ooh la la.
Right. Well, the Democrats have never understood an ooh la la. They don't understand. To them, they've always been process and policy wonks to a fault. Brian makes a good observation. Democrats think that people are generally good. Republicans think that people are generally stupid and lazy.
Bingo.
And the problem is that Democrats don't acknowledge that stupid and lazy becomes the tool of the sinister and the powerful.
I have to call this out right now. Bose is overpriced. Thank you.
Bose is objectively garbage. I was going to leave that one alone.
That's
a whole separate podcast.
It's way overpriced. I
will
can
say this:
Bose quality from a $50 pair of earbuds.
There are a couple of studio style speakers Bose has made that are just two speakers that play music. Those were good.
Oh yeah, no, those were fantastic. They weren't worth $400. I would have priced them at like $200.
I mean, yeah, but they got that control on that brand.
Yeah, anyway, back to
one thing I would never do is buy Bose headphones of any kind.
No, never.
Rip off.
Never.
If you're really trying to overpay for some headphones, get yourself some Beats and have some damn dignity.
Or you know what? Have some sense and buy some Sennheisers.
So yes, that too. So I would love if this whole play was to get the shittiness into the light so that they could try to defeat it. I don't know if they're smart enough for that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that the shittiness is the selling point now. That's the selling point.
Yeah.
For the Republicans, the shittiness is the selling point. The point of, I'm going to go fight. And this is one thing I did leave out of my interview, because they're all about trying to find bridges between people and find connections. And one of the things I in my head I'm holding in my head is, once someone says, "No, you want to hurt me. Your goal is to hurt me," then that conversation is over, right? Again, it's a sales issue, right? Once in a sale, if you're trying to sell something, once you're in a sales situation and they're like, "No, all salespeople lie," that conversation is effectively over. It's literally, you're just trying to see who stops dancing first during that conversation.
That's fair. Right. Hey, Rob is here. Hi, Rob. You're not late.
I mean, but you're
just arriving at a leisurely pace.
You're just seeing who stops dancing first, right?
Also, Brian agrees the Bose headphones aren't where it's at.
Yeah,
so,
if to put it in perspective, if you're dancing with that person who says, all salespeople lie, you're now at the space for Jesus phase of the dance, right?
Yeah.
We're not like bumping and grinding. We're not slow dancing, and there will sure as hell be no intercourse at the end of this conversation, right? So it's the problem that I feel like so many Democrats have, and the Democratic leadership has, is they don't understand, once you hit that point in the conversation, you need to just leave. You need to stop. But if you're not at that point in the conversation, right? If you're not at the point where it's just that assumption that they're going to hurt me, you're going to hurt me, then there's still room to talk. You just need to figure out what they're looking for. And the problem is that what I'm seeing more and more, and Trump is proof of it, the fact that in a good number of cases in these primaries, and I'm encouraged, at least for our chances, that some Trumpers have pulled ahead. I love the fact that this nut job has now beat out Oz and McCormick in Pennsylvania, because Fetterman is going to just beat the crap out of him.
Well, and we're gonna dive into a bunch of that as our final discussion of the evening, because I've been pulling up a bunch of notes over here. Like, that's going to be an interesting examination. I didn't realize how busy the primary schedule is. Let's tip another round, folks. It's about time to get into that final phase. And so if you've been drinking along, drink the next one, because it's time for another round. So this time I'm going to go first, David.
You go first for once.
So I've been sipping for a few minutes on the Big Heart. I'm sticking with my Big Heart theme. So this is the The Big Heart 5 o'clock Whistle Vienna IPA. At
I've
first,
had that before. I feel like I've had that before at your house.
I might have had a bunch of them, or a growler came home and I was like, "Hey, come help me drink this real fast because we just
one or
drove
the
10
other.
hours." So I wasn't prepared for how bitey this would be on the back of the throat when I took the first sip. Some people might have noticed I coughed a little bit, like I wasn't thinking, and I kind of inhaled too quick, and that makes it sound like I'm with Brian, but you get my point. So this is a good IPA. It's a little more bitter, but I think I've had a lot of Vienna style things that kind of have that bitterness that lasts. So I think that's just the style, but it's a good one. Unfortunately, I kind of ruined my palate tonight for IPAs because down at Gray Line down the road here, I mean, they really are champs on the IPA landscape. So it's hard to compare, but this one's a lightly roasted Vienna malt, pale British style or pale British base malt. Almost a winey backdrop. I'll give them that. A bit closer to the amber spectrum than many American IPAs, and I'll give them that too. That is an accurate description. But I'm still loving Heart, and I think that this is a good. I mean, if this were in a vacuum and I had no other IPAs tonight, this would be bang on. It's probably just okay by the ultimate overall spectrum.
All right. So mine is going to be a little bit weird, and I'm trying to finish my big ass carrot cake imperial stout so I can show it to you. I like the color. I'm going to show you all the grammatical marks that are on this because it's Czech.
I don't even know how to pronounce this. Green Bench Brewing.
Yeah, right. There's a bunch of
Polatnovy Lezac 12. I don't know if I have that right, but
so the
that is an
story I got about
action-packed
this
can you got there.
right? No, it's a really cool can. The story I got about this was this. So it's a Czech brewery, and basically, you know, if you know about beers and locations, Czechoslovakia or the Czech Republic is very famous for its pilsners, right? Czech pilsners are something that most people should know. If you've never had a pilsner or Kel, you need to. Just don't open it in a closed space because that smell will clear out the room. Opening that bottle will clear out the damn room. It is skunked. But apparently, what they did was they took the precursor before they took it all the way to Pilsner, and then they killed it. Right? They stopped. They began the fermentation process to get it to that light, clear Pilsner, and they said, no. We're going to pull this aside, and we're going to stop the fermentation on it and leave it as is. And it's actually that's why I'm trying to finish my imperial stout here. It's actually super dark. I'm trying to finish. Oh, that's a lot of carrot cake. Oh. Oh, that's an imperial stout. Oh. Okay, there we go. So this eventually, in a Czech brewery, becomes a pilsner. But if you stop it, you get that. So that's the entire idea behind this. Is someone just said like, what, you know, because an amber style beer is not something that's familiar in Czech brewing culture. It's the same way that anything not a lager or a Marzen is not really something that you ask a Bavarian brewer to do. Central Europe is really twitchy about their brewing processes, apparently. But yeah, I mean, it's this really dark, cloudy color. I can't really see through it. But apparently, if they let the fermentation process proceed, it becomes a pilsner. and it comes off with it actually has a little bit of a citrus flavor. You know what? It's a Marzen is what I would compare it to.
Okay.
It's like a light Marzen.
Brian asks, "Are you drinking the wort?"
No, we're not drinking the wort. Apparently, it's how they. You know what? Honestly, I've never asked how you make pilsners, mostly because I don't like pilsners.
Except for Mama's Little Yellow Pills, which
except for Mama's Little Yellow Pills, and you know what?
swear by.
Oscar Blues, I just assume is like Willy Wonka. He has like little orange midgets running around like a brewery somewhere in Colorado, like shoving random grains into barrels and making them into beer.
Oh, boy. Well, let's talk about more Fallout. So the state of play, I gotta say, there's a podunk ass primary like every week this year. So, so last week we had Indiana and Ohio. And
I'm loving. You know what? I'm liking Ohio. I'm liking the situation in Ohio right now because I'm like, yay, JD Vance, because you're a fucking moron.
And Pennsylvania's coming up in a week or so.
No, it's already happened.
Apparently not.
It hasn't already happened, but it's in the process of happening. That the nuttiest of the nutters is.
Yeah. Because so Indiana was last week, crowded GOP primary, state's only open House seat, and it's being vacated by a Republican. So, of course, the whole fucking circus is coming out.
Yep.
And then Ohio, the Senate race features several state politicians looking to out-Trump one another against Tim Ryan, who was the winner of the primary, I believe. Then tonight we've got Nebraska for governor. So Representative Don Bacon, which I'm already done. We're through. We're no need for further discussion. His name is Don Bacon, and he's a Republican. I'm done with this. Like, there's nothing you could say to salvage anything that comes after this revelation. Running for re-election in the 2nd Congressional District, where he narrowly defeated Democratic challenger. Democratic primaries likely to come down to Tony Vargas, state senator, and Alicia Shelton, mental health practitioner. Nebraskans will also elect a successor to Governor Pete Ricketts. West Virginia.
That ought to be interesting.
While we're busy scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Well, no, I just want to point out the Nebraska thing might actually be interesting because Nebraska is the definition of what goes on there. I don't understand. I don't understand Nebraska politics to save my life. I don't understand it at all. You have liberal Republicans still wandering around the wilderness in cornfields. You have conservative Democrats still wandering around the cornfields. You have Ricketts is arguably, because his own legislature has overturned him multiple times, right? Even with Trump, I don't understand Nebraska at all. It doesn't. Nebraska, I think, looks at the rest of the country and says, "That's someplace else that doesn't have corn." And therefore I don't care.
So there's a herd of 20 bicycles going by, and it's kind of amusing. West Virginia, man, 2 Republican House members face off in the primary as the state lost one of its 3 congressional seats after the last census. If nothing tells you that West Virginia shouldn't be who we listen to, it should be the fucking reduction in representation. Like, your state is so shit that enough people left that we said, yeah, no, nope, we're taking a rep away.
Not only did enough people leave, but enough people left in a period in human history where you could literally live anywhere you wanted for whatever price you wanted.
Right.
And as long as it had good internet access, you could move there and
that would be the rub.
Job.
Yeah, it's hard to internet when your house is powered by a hamster wheel. So
or our coal fire power plant that doesn't, even though the mine is right next to it. It's one of the ironies is the most.
And I said hamster wheel. For the record, I want to be clear. I really mean whichever cousin lost the lottery for the GIMP wheel that week.
That is also entirely possible. No, it's really ironic that one of the most efficient coal power plants in the world is in Arizona. It's on a Indian reservation, and they did a really cool thing. They built the power plant directly on top of the coal mine.
Mm.
Right? So literally they mine the coal and it goes directly up a shaft and gets burned. They depend, however, in order to afford to replace parts, maintain the plant, on their ability to also export coal from the plant. That plant is now in the process of being shut down. Why? Because the value of the coal that they pull out of the plant, out of the mine, that they depend on to, replace parts and do stuff like that, is gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, to run down the landscape, I mean, if you're not into seeing political headlines, A, you're watching the wrong fucking podcast, but B,
right, really,
good luck to you this year, because we had, like, last week was Indiana, Ohio. Tonight, Nebraska, West Virginia. Next week, Idaho, Kentucky, North Carolina, Oregon, Pennsylvania. The next week, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia. And then June is California, Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota. That's all in one fucking week. Then June 14th is even, well, no, that's about half. That's Maine, Nevada, North Dakota, South Carolina. June 21st is Virginia, all by their damn selves because they got to be snobs. June 28th, Colorado, Illinois, New York, Oklahoma, Utah. July 19th, or I'm sorry, yeah. Wow, then we get a break, actually. July 19th, Maryland. August 2nd, and August is when my mind thinks primaries in August, and I realize it's the Tennessee in me. But all of this stuff is so weird to me because August is when I think about it. And August 2nd would be Arizona, Kansas, Michigan, hello, Missouri, Washington, and then August 4th is Tennessee. All by
the way, you do realize that your state also has an abortion trigger law?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right. Just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the many juxtapositions of fucking disappointment that we deal with. August 9th, Connecticut, Minneapolis, Vermont, and Wisconsin. August 13th, Hawaii. August 16th, Alaska, Wyoming. 23rd, Florida. September 6th, Massachusetts.
I'll be
September 13th, Delaware, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and then November 8th, Louisiana, which I am pretty sure is just election day.
Yeah, so election use Louisiana does things smart. They use a jungle primary, which I wish.
Open Senate primary will feature 3 Democrats challenging the incumbent John N. Kennedy.
Oh my God, so awful. Well, no, because the way it works
and that's
Louisiana,
where our man Gary Chambers.
Now, the way it works in Louisiana, and I wish we would do this with all our elections, is simply this. It's what's called a jungle primary. California has recently switched to this system as well, which has angered the Republicans to no end, which is the top 2 vote getters from the primary then face off against one another on election night. Right? And to me, that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we should have a primary, and instead of saying like, "Oh, are you for the Republicans or the Democrats?" No, let's just put everyone in a pot and see who gets the most votes.
So when we talk about taking this on out to the fall, what do you I'm on the fence. On one hand, I really feel like it'd be great not to have any nutters. On the other hand, I feel like Trump nutters on one side of the ballot strengthen the possibility of the Democrats winning on the other side.
So here's the thing, and this is my metric that I've established. If it's a light red to light blue state, I want the nutters. I want the nutters in that state.
Is that because you feel like they bring out the left to vote against them.
Exactly. So I feel like having another
swing
like
states.
Vance in Ohio, even though Ohio has gone Republican very solidly multiple times, I feel like having another like Vance in Ohio is good for the Democrats.
Could be. Real quick, Sharma's here. Hey, Sharma, nice to see
Hey,
you. Thank you
Sharma.
for the compliments and the ego boost. We appreciate that. The night's crises are well in hand. I also I had to say you and Brian are probably right. Jungle rules, baby.
No. Again, a jungle primary should be how we run. Honestly, from my opinion, is we should copy France and use a jungle primary for presidential elections. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
Back to the point.
So,
My formula is if you're in a borderline state,
so a swing state.
What?
A swing state. You want swing
No, because
states to have the
Ohio is
nutty
not a swing
Trumper
state.
versus a Democrat.
Ohio is no longer a swing state. Ohio is a Republican state because of Rust Belt animosity. But the problem is the guy in the semi-defunct steel plant in Cincinnati or Cleveland going to vote for a nutter like Vance, who's obviously a carpetbagger to Ohio?
I mean, maybe these people are dumb.
Yeah, but they also don't like people showing up and saying that they're going to go claim a Senate seat. I mean, if anything, like Vance's bona fides lend him more to West Virginia or Kentucky, not Ohio. Ohio doesn't like to think of itself as
we just
Appalachia.
talked about how everybody left West Virginia, David. Vance left West Virginia too.
Right? That's the problem.
Oh,
Ohio
boy.
doesn't like to feel like, oh, we have West Virginia's leftovers.
Yeah, the sloppy seconds of the wacky right.
Right. I like nutters winning in states where Democrats hold office and have shown that they can hold office, like Pennsylvania, like Ohio, like North Carolina, like Georgia. I want the nuttier the better.
Yeah.
So
where do you want the electable, normal, Romney-esque Republicans to show up?
I want those in deep red states.
So where they're going to win anyway, Lord help us.
No, because
let them be reasonable.
Because the thing is, if they're nutty in states that could be that have a mixed voting history, right? If they're nutty in a state that has a mixed voting history, will that turn out the Democratic vote and suppress the Republican vote? If they're moderate in a state that has a large percentage of nutters, right? Like Tennessee or Texas, or not as much Texas as these days, but I don't know, Mississippi, Arizona, I don't know, like Montana, especially. Montana would be a good example. Then yes, I want the moderate because that will again suppress the Trumper vote that would normally push those guys over the top.
Don't the moderates just become puppets of the crazy shit anyway? I mean,
well, exactly. That's the thing. Is a moderate Republican? Well, obviously, hi, Suzanne Collins. What's up?
Right?
How you doing?
Yeah. Apparently, moderate Republican is a instant sucker for lies by the candidates for the Supreme Court.
No, she. Here's the thing about Susan Collins, and this is a thing I
mean, she got conned.
She didn't get conned.
Shit.
I don't know how many Mainers you've ever met. Mainers are a strange bunch.
I have like one in the family, and they were transplanted there, so I don't know if I know any real.
Yeah, they're not an actual Mainer. The joke about Maine is a man could be born in New Hampshire, and 1 minute after his birth, be pulled across the state line. 70 years later, die, and the newspaper will read, "New Hampshire man dies after 70 years." Right. Mainers are a strange fucking bunch, without question. I would argue that the only reason Susan Collins still has a seat is because they picked. They literally the one thing you don't do in Maine is you don't pick someone who wasn't born in motherfucking Maine.
Hmm.
And what did they do? Gideon? Where is Gideon from? I'm going to give you a hint. Not Maine. Good God.
So where are we hoping to see my favorite, which is oopsie, there's a super progressive Democrat on the ballot, and they're going to win.
Fetterman?
They're gonna add to the squad.
I think Fetterman has the room to beat the crap out of everyone in the Pennsylvania.
Daddy Fetterman. Oh,
right?
Oh. There's a two-page Variety magazine style centerfold spread in my mind now of the squad stretched out on some lounge furniture with various booze and smoking long cigarette holders, but weed. And then Fetterman standing there like they're bang on gangster bouncer guy, just with his arms crossed, like come fuck with us. Right. I want Fetterman added to the squad. Damn it!
I think Fetterman should have Pennsylvania in good situation. I think Warnock should be able to easily hold on in Georgia. I think Kemp is gonna beat off Purdue in the primary. I'm
cautiously optimistic that Stacey Abrams could win.
But again, I think Abrams had. The thing is, I think no matter who wins in the Georgia gubernatorial primary, it's gonna bloody them so bad that Abrams has a very clear lane to go ahead and claim it. I think Beto O'Rourke has room in Texas, and I'm gonna tell you why.
That's ballsy.
Yep, I know that's ballsy, and I'm gonna tell you why. Truck drivers are a conservative sort. Abbott has been fucking with everyone left and right. Yeah, there it is. There's the light bulb. There's the light bulb.
Yeah.
Abbott has been fucking. He's been fucking with the roughnecks out on the rigs. He's been fucking with the truck drivers. He's been fucking with everyone who isn't a dyed-in-the-wool. Gee, if only I could hang a black person, because wouldn't that be fun to reenact that? Texan.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of like, listen, Crippy McCripster.
See, I was just sitting here running through what kind of wheelchair jokes am I allowed to make at Abbott's expense? And I thought I was going to say, he's just pissed off because those truckers can drive with their feet. But then you said Crippy McCripster, and I decided I didn't need to go there. And then you tricked me into talking about it. So now it's there anyway.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot.
I think it's just automatically allowed. You don't have to be nice or feel sorry for people in wheelchairs that are total pieces of shit like him and Madison Cawthorn.
No, not at all. Again, I think Madison Cawthorn maybe down for the count. I don't know about MTG. I know Bobbert is not looking well in Colorado.
Really?
No.
She hasn't managed to keep the attention of the cucks that love guns?
The thing is, she kept their attention.
Furiously masturbating in their survival basements set.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's not that big of a section of that in Colorado, as much as we like to think there is. Northern Georgia, on the other hand, I don't know if we're getting rid of MTG.
Oh, That was a district tailor made for her crazy ass.
Pretty much. The fact that she got as far as she did should have been warning sign number one.
There's a reason in Chattanooga when you're on Lookout Mountain that you look around and you appreciate the majesty of everything before you, and you look in all those directions and you see those 7 states. And when you look at that state known as Georgia, you have a choice of looking to the left-ish, which is kind of toward South Carolina, technically, or to the right, which gives you nothing but Marjorie Taylor Greene's district and fucking Alabama. Yeah. And then you realize, nah, I'm gonna turn around and look back over here toward the Carolinas. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, no, it's no bueno. MTG will likely win re-election,
unless of course something else happens to her, because she's really like carving out her niche as a like risk-taking insurrectionist.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if Cawthorn was going to hang on in North Carolina, though. And this
the general idea here is like, how much can we maybe sort of kind of flip the expectations on their head? And as the primary art for our broadcast tonight exhibits, getting everybody in there and their granny and their handmaids to pin on a Democrat button and go to the polls. And
I mean, but here's the thing.
I'm still worried about that, dude. I'm still worried about enthusiasm.
Well, but enthusiasm is thankfully Alito has given impetus to enthusiasm. Thank you.
That
Alito.
Is true. There's going to be a hell of a lot of woman scorned action going on.
Right. That's number one. Number two, the Republicans have been relying on suburban white women to prop them up. I don't know if suburban white women are going to show up to a party. It's one thing to say, "Oh no, I don't like abortion. No, I don't like." It's another thing to say, "You made that illegal." No,
right.
That's an entirely different species of thing.
They have been really used to being able to manipulate one of two things with suburban white women. One, the 9/11 angle that Bush enjoyed, which is the sand Negroes, if you catch my meaning, they're going to come here and they're going to rape your family. They're going to invade,
or you know the avocado set, or however you want to put that. Or I don't know, the Quebecois. The Quebecois will cross the border and do horrible things to your dog. I'm like,
and the other side of that coin has been we like to get you fired up in theory about all your church lady talk and say that we're your champion, but it never got delivered. And now when you look at
it's like with Obamacare, we keep on trying to turn out the vote with Obamacare, even though McCain was the one who called them on it. He said, you keep on trying to turn out people on Obamacare, but don't want to offer another solution.
Right.
And I'm not going to vote to overturn the ACA, when you all don't have a solution.
Exactly. We don't have any ideas. We just hate yours. That's the.
Sharma would like to chime in.
That is true. Sharma represents the exact suburban white woman that we're talking about, and I would like to point out the stats that we've seen talked about so much. And I'm really happy so far. The media has been okay about sharing stats. The fact that most people who get an abortion already have children. I know that you will probably never meet me on the field of appreciation for Bill Maher, but I really loved Bill Maher is very anti-children. He does not like kids.
Bill Maher is anti-humanity.
No, he's not. He butthurt you at some point. You've never got over it, but he doesn't like kids. Bill Maher is a California single, well-off, pot-smoking liberal. He doesn't like fucking kids, and I really enjoyed.
Bill Maher is not a liberal.
Yeah, he is.
Bill Maher is a scantily clothed libertarian.
No,
masquerading as a liberal.
No, all of you super woke younger folks, he's definitely the liberal that y'all like to make fun of. He despises children. He despises children in a way that I totally understand, because we, despite having one child, our one and done and only ever child, We also despise children at the general at large, and I'm with him on that. And I love that he was leaning in hard. He was pointing out, leaning in real hard on the fact that the stats show that most of the abortions go to women who already have fucking kids. And his joke was, and I think he's right, they've already been down that road and realized how goddamn awful it is, and they don't want to do it again. And there is some of that.
I have to share this because literally that was one of the worst comments, and now it's coming back to haunt her.
A
like
local infant supply chain.
We have to have we have to satisfy. I mean, literally the worst aspects of capitalism that you could possibly ever imagine, married with the worst aspects of civil rights abuse that you could possibly ever imagine.
Yeah.
And here we go. We go. Women have to be pregnant to supply the market.
We need workforce. This is precisely the same argument as needing to open the schools. It is exactly the same idea. We need our slave labor. You've got to make policies that give us our slave labor. So you have to open schools so the free babysitting is available for all the parents to go back to work for our slave labor. You can't have abortions because that doesn't create enough desperate low-income people for our slave labor.
Right. I mean, it's wow. I mean, because the irony is it's entirely anti-capitalist in its own and on its face, which is the market will determine if you actually believe in capitalism, right? You actually believe in pure capitalism, then the market will determine whether or not you'll have kids or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll have the resources to have kids or you won't have the resources to have kids, and you'll make the conscious choice not to have kids. But what they're actually arguing for is this strange slavery capitalism that conservatives keep on pushing.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is not that the market is actually going to decide, but that we need to keep on making rich people richer. And so therefore we need more poor people to feed into the grist mill to keep us rich.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm such a cynical, negative person. Everybody knows that. It's weird for me to think positive, but in my little happiest thoughts, my little like Lucastopia fantasies, it's Gary Chambers comes out of Louisiana, John Fetterman comes out of Pennsylvania, and we have some straight dope, and in Gary's case, I mean dope, in fucking halls of Congress, really laying shit down.
You know what? Chambers may pull it off in Louisiana. I don't know. I think
dude, I would be so happy. I'm not even a pothead. I am a recreational edible guy. And I fucking love Chambers. First of all, he's got a history of being a loudmouth activist. And that's right here. You know, that's the key to my goddamn heart. And then, you know, the fact that his thing he's riding is partly weed. It's, you know, justice and doing good, but weed is a big piece of it. I think he's going to educate the party. The biggest reason I would love for him to win is to educate the party. There are very few times I got pissed off at Barack Obama, but when he laughed off legalizing marijuana, I was like, come on, dude. And full disclosure, you know, my dad grew the shit, and my dad was an old hippie that smoked a lot of weed. He's not dead, but he grew and smoked his share of fucking weed. I've been exposed to this topic, this concept, this activism all my fucking life, between, you know, dad having his little 8x8 garden of weed, all the way to my high school buddies, all the way to my early, you know, adulthood, 20-something-year-old buddies, all the way to now living in a state where I can walk down the street, grab a pack of gummies, pop one just like I can drink an old fashioned and have a nice evening. And because I'm a grown up, I can goddamn decide to do it with my time.
But
and I would love Chambers to show up and do that.
By the way, did you ever find that commercial that I was talking about?
No, I looked a little bit, and to be honest with you, the process is probably 20 minutes to get it ready to show.
I want to share this from Sharma, which is...
I was about to pull that up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the real problem with what Alito has argued, which is, And the again, this is one of the reasons why so many anti-choice groups have argued against serious enforcement for so long, which is once people start getting arrested, once you have 16-year-old girls who are scared, once you have 18-year-old girls who are scared, once you have mothers and their 13-year-old daughters who are scared, put in prison, charged with homicide, charged with all the, and it's not just going to be, and I want to put this out, it's not going to just be just arrests.
Right.
I mean, these people have set up a lynch mob mentality and license to use it among the anti-choice groups.
And she points out they're good and scared now.
Right. But I mean,
And
it's going to get worse. It's going to get that much worse. I mean, they've set up a lynch mob mentality in Texas. They've set up literally by the very nature of the law, it is a lynch mob. It is a lynch mob.
I got a point. I hadn't thought about this one. Mark points out, personally, if they do overturn this, I can't wait for the gun registry, since the key of Roe v. Wade is your right to privacy. That's interesting. David, what do you think? Is there a through line there?
Oh, yeah. There's a massive through line, which is, and California has already threatened it. California, and honestly, if they overturn Roe v. Wade, Newsom will pull that trigger without hesitation, which is, you know what? We're going to start suing every single gun manufacturer for every single gun death. And at which point, the Supreme Court is going to have to justify.
Well, hold on. Is that the same as the gun registry, though? That seems like a different.
Well, no, because the thing is, if there's no privacy, right?
Yeah.
California can demand that you register every gun.
Well, okay, I see what you're saying.
But not only register every gun, but because if the Texas law stands, they can demand that if someone dies in a gun-related accident, right? Well, then any individual can sue the gun manufacturer for $10,000, just like they do in Texas.
Right. Dude, I'm so ready for some petty bite back. But the subject of focus at this point is these elections, and I'm trying to stay cautiously optimistic that somehow there's a wild, weird ride that happens where we get some great Democrats. We don't lose the House and shit goes well. Maybe not, but I'm hopeful.
I think we can hold on to the House by a bare margin. I think if they press it, we can hold on to the House by a bare margin. I think we can definitely expand the Senate. The only reason we can't...
You think so?
Oh,
you looking at Pennsylvania and Louisiana on that, or you got some other aces?
I'm looking at Ohio. I'm looking at pardon me. Ohio is where I'm kind of putting some chips on the long shot. But Pennsylvania is, I feel like, with Fetterman, is a solid thing. Louisiana, man, that's a weird fucking place. Is all I gotta say about Louisiana. Right.
I want to point out Sharma's put a little bit of water on my idea, which is not many people have access to lawyers to sue Smith and Wesson. But good news, if it's a state law that you can just do whatever the fuck, you won't need a lawyer.
Right. Well, no, that's the thing in Texas is you don't need a lawyer to bring suit, right? You can just simply be a guy on the street, and bring suit against a woman for having an abortion, right?
Right.
You don't have to actually have a causal connection to that woman, right? You just have to be able to bring suit. And if your suit fails, someone else can just... And this is one of the stupid things. This is why Democrats tried to shut down this law before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, in their stupidity, didn't shut it down, which is the most dumbass thing I think I've seen in the history of the common law, which is... You can just keep on lining them up, right? Well, if your suit fails, another person can just continuously bring suit because you facilitated an abortion either by being the woman who had an abortion, the doctor who performed the abortion, the driver who drove the woman to the women's health clinic, the guard at the door. right?
The car. I mean, is there anything to stop you from suing the manufacturer of the vehicle or the place that
I
sold it to
I
them?
don't think so. No.
I mean, the list is just infinite. It's super, super ridiculous and very infinite. Anyway, it's a moving target. We got to watch it. We'll see how the primaries turn out tonight. We're coming up on time, so we're gonna wish everybody well. But this was a lot of fun to dive into, and we'll see how it goes. We've got months and months of these primaries, so it'll be interesting to talk about. As always, please share, like, subscribe, etc. Tell all your friends about us. I tell 2 or 3 people about it.
All of them right now. Do it.
And I'll remind you that, this isn't something we're doing because we have anything else going on with it. We're just here to do what we feel is our duty to the Republic. To
in case you haven't noticed, we don't have it. We don't have any sponsors or any sort of like paid advertisements. The mics.
I mean, if we did, arguably, we might have an actual website spun up by now. But it's not a priority because the core is the discussion. But thank you all for joining us. It's always fun.
I just want to point this out again on the sponsors point. We pay for all our cameras, we pay for all our mics, we pay for all our lights, simply because we want to do this for you. We don't do this because we get paid or monetized or do any of that happens.
Well, and there's a certain amount of therapy to gathering together every week to talk about the inevitable shittiness of the Republic or what's left of it. But as always, we appreciate you joining us. And of course, I'm always grateful to have David with me. And I'm really stoked that I got in here on time to actually do the whole broadcast while also going to the city commission. So that was fun. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hop out of here. So good night.
Good evening.
And good luck.